Peace, brother. So I see you reading a Bible a lot. Can you talk about it a little bit? Like why you read it so much?
Yeah, man. Brother, the Bible basically is the supercomputer of the world. It proceeds, it is unseen, it controls the whole world and everybody and everything in it. The spiritual universe, the physical universe. That's why it's called the scriptures, because it is the script of everything that is happening by man upon the planet.
All right, cool. When was it created? Because there's so many different versions and
Great
different
question.
theories.
Um, so what you have to understand is the word Bible means a collection of books. So there have been many different Bibles, right? But the word Bible is the English that comes from the Greek word Biblia or Biblios, which is a collection of records. So there are many different records, ancient records out there. So let's take the Egyptian Book of the Dead, or what is called the Book of the Coming In of Day and Night. Then you have the Quran written by the Arabs. That is their Bible or their collection of records. Then you have what's called the Kebra Nagras, which is written by the Ethiopians. Okay, you have the Sumerian text, which is written by the Sumerians. Then you have the account of Gilgamesh. So all ancient nations had their own Bibles and so forth like that. Now, the English Bible, the word Bible that's attributed, is attributed because there were many different versions before the King James Bible. So King James was ruling England in 1611, all right? But there were versions before his Bible. Now, he did not write that Bible. What he had was different sections, 3 different sections of scholars, that one for the Hebrew, one for the Latin, and one for the Greek, that took all the records that were before them and they compounded it, and they took what was called the Duguay Bible. They took the Reeves Bible. There were Bibles before, so when you go into the archaeology or the chronology of Bibles before the King James, you're going to see that that's what they used to compound into the book that is in hand now. The reason why it's called the King James Bible is because he was the king that authorized it, and his name got affixed to it. Okay?
So he didn't necessarily create it.
Right. He did not write it. He did not write it. But it's just like, for a better example, Obama never wrote Obamacare. Obamacare was already in existence under Bernie Sanders and them years before. But because he was the president now that got it pushed through completely for the nation, it got attributed to him, Obamacare. So whatever a man of authority or power, whatever he does, that's what you get attributed to. Like how Abraham Lincoln got attributed to freeing the slaves and so forth like that. Or Lyndon B. Johnson set up, Social Security and welfare, all these different things. That's how you get attributed to certain things and so forth like that.
So, are there religions in the Bible?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Why yes and no? Because you see the creation of what is called religions written in the Bible, but the Lord never created religions per se. So the Lord never created Roman Catholicism. The Lord never created Jehovah's Witness. The Lord never created Islam. Men created those things. Those are concepts of the devil. So any form which is in opposition to the scriptures is concepts of the devil. Okay? But people, nations were worshiping different idols, different gods, and so forth like that. So these are all concepts of religion. Now the word religion comes from the word religia, R-E-L-I-G-I-O, which means to hold back, hold down, and restrain. Then you add the I-O-N on, and now you have the word religion. So in the scriptures now, there is no concept called Christianity. But the disciples of Christ, which were Israelites, were called Christians first because they followed the Christ, right? In the book of Acts, or when you go into the book of Acts, the 12th chapter, it tells you that the disciples, Matthew, Mark, Luke, all these different cats, were called Christians. The people's like, oh, there's those Christians. See, a title was put to them. Now, from there, hundreds of years later, after they died, after they got killed, the disciples of Christ got killed, who were Israelites. Remember what I'm pointing at? These were Israelites. That was their nationality. Their things that they taught, the people later on now came up with a concept. This concept called Black Christianity eventually got taken to Rome by Emperor Constantine. Emperor Constantine took it to Rome, and there it became Roman Catholicism. The Lord never set that up. So when you go to Psalms 147, 19 and 20, the Lord tells you that he never set up. He gave law. Okay? So when people are doing their different things, anybody can create a religion, and now you have followers of your belief.
True. So along those lines, are nations in the Bible?
Okay, so the fathers of nations come from, you have to go back to Genesis now, the 9th and 10th chapter, 9th, 10th, 11th chapter. So, how did the Arabs come into existence? The Arabs came into existence because of Ishmael, right? So when you go to Genesis, the 16th chapter, Ishmael is the father of what later on his descendants would be called Ishmaelites. And then that name got changed because they went to Arabia, which was called Arabia, and then it became Saudi Arabia. So now that Arabians, their father is Ishmael in the Bible. Okay, Esau, the so-called white man or European, his father is Esau. Okay, Ishmael, the father of the black Arabs. Okay, Esau, the father of the so-called Europeans, Germans, French, Russians, Polish. All these people are one. Okay, so when you go back to Genesis, the 9th chapter, 10th chapter, that's where you see the table of nations, from men producing with women, producing tribes moving into nations down through time as they take over lands and regions and so forth, like that.
So what would be their purpose?
What would be their purpose now? Biblically, their purpose, if you go back to Genesis 1:26, the purpose that the Lord created man for upon the planet is to control, dominate, shape it. Man is supposed to do that, and you see man doing it. Man cutting holes through mountains. Look what the French and the British did. They made a tunnel all the way from England all the way down through the ocean, through all the way into France. Now you can go underground. You understand? So man, when you go back to Genesis 1:26, the Lord said, I will create man for him to control this world. You understand? To shape it, dominate it, rule it, and so forth, like that. Now, that's the original purpose. The second purpose that man was created for was to follow and listen to the nation of Israel.
Okay. Cool. So currently, what time are we in and in the Bible?
Okay, that's a great question. The time that we're in is in stages. Just like when you're born, there's a Genesis, your middle age, and then your death age. The time that we're in is what's called in the Bible the last days. Okay, so we're in what's called the last days and times, based on scriptures showing you clues as to what is happening now. That the Bible says, well, this will happen in the last days and times. That's this time. Then there is a second time coming after that, which is called the day of the Lord. The day of the Lord is the destruction of the nations on this planet as they come together for the Third World War, okay, which is written in Revelation, the 9th chapter, Revelation, the 12th chapter. It speaks about the Third World War, and in Revelation, the 19th chapter, and in the book of Hosea, and so forth, like that. So this Third World War, which is going to be a nuclear war, is called the Day of the Lord. So in the Day of the Lord, Christ and the angels will return from Revelation, the 19th chapter. They shall return and destroy these nations, take down all these nations that got nuclear bombs and so forth like that. And because the nations now in the Day of the Lord is going to move to the valley of Jehoshaphat. They're going to go to fight each other. And when they go to fight each other in the Jali Valley of Jehoshaphat, they're going to see Christ coming. Okay, they're going to see the angels of them coming, which is called UFOs, or what they call UFOs. They're going to see the chariots, and they're going to move to fight. So just read the book of Revelation, the 19th chapter, and then it'll explain that to you.
Okay. So moving into the last question, heaven and hell.
Heaven and hell is a concept that is going on right now. It is a physical concept of a state and condition that you're in. Okay? So we as a people, so-called black people, people of color, poor minorities, we in a hellish state. So there's always a high and a low. There's always a high and a low. The so-called white man, he's the one that dominates and rules European. He's the one that dominates and rules this world through the gun. Okay, so he's got the nuclear bombs. Russia has 8,000 nuclear bombs. Who's Russia? Caucasians. America's got 7,500 nuclear bombs. Who is America? Caucasians. Joe Biden, Donald Trump, all these cats, Bush, they got the military, okay? So they're in a high state, they can control and say things. China is trying to take over, okay? China, the Bible tells you that no nation shall take over except for the coming of Christ in the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter. That's when he's going to come and take over, right? So when you're in a high state, you're in heaven. So when you go to Revelation, when you go to Isaiah the 12th chapter now, Isaiah the 14th chapter, it tells you the change when the nation of Israel through Christ is going to be brought up from the position that we in right now in this world. Okay, we're going to be brought up. We're going to be put back into a heavenly state upon this planet. But how is that going to be accomplished? Through warfare. Okay, only through warfare can you take something from somebody. And that's another lie too. You know, these Europeans are always talking about, well, nothing can be accomplished through warfare. That is the hypocrisy that we've been taught, and we believe that bull crap, okay, because the controlling and taking over of this country, this nation, from the indigenous people, from the millions of indigenous people, was done through warfare. Okay, it was done through chemical warfare, it was done through biological warfare, it was done through killing the animals that they ate. And these are the lies that we accept and we believe and so forth like that. But the Christ, which is coming back, is going to change for you to come to the top.